Good evening, everyone. Welcome to First Church. Welcome to our Louise Hay self-healing class, which meets every Thursday at 7 p.m. This is a virtual space, a serene space dedicated to the uplifting teachings of Louise Hay based upon her book, You Can Heal Your Life. Many of you know, and some of you don't know, if you're new, that Louise Hay herself was a student here at First Church, where she learned the science of mind and she learned new thought, and she was on staff here as a practitioner minister. So we're always thrilled to be able to present her material. I've been facilitating her groups for many, many years, and if you're here, I can assure you, you're in the right place. So as we gather today, we're thrilled to get into the transformative power of self-love. We're going to talk tonight about the importance of positive affirmations. I've got some new information on how important they are, and also on the magic journey of trusting ourselves and learning to love ourselves. We appreciate everyone here on the call. There's now hundreds of people every week or so signing up, signing in. If you'd like to receive her e-letter, I would suggest it for everyone. Be sure to send Jimmy your email address. If you'd like to get some gentle reminders of the classes, include a phone number. He will keep your number private, so send that to Jimmy. Your presence here, everyone, means the world to us. All your comments are amazing. They enrich our whole experience. Everybody loves hearing the personal sharing. So at the end of any gathering, there's a time for people to share. You don't have to share, but it's nice when we hear from you, even if it's just to say, I'm new, I'm from such and such state. It's wonderful to hear from you if you're able to. So as we go through tonight's topic, please feel free to share your thoughts, your reflections in the chat. This is a space for openness. Please don't put any personal phone numbers and things like that in the chat. This is a place where we share encouragement and support for everybody, and every voice adds value to our collective understanding. Some of you ask about support, and in every broadcast there's support options in the chat itself. We accept love offerings. We appreciate them, actually. But everything, I want everyone to know that all of these classes are offered for free. So please don't feel obligated. If you want to contribute, it's wonderful. It gives us the support we need to keep doing the work we do. So again, we love hearing from you. We cherish all the messages we get on Facebook and YouTube and that we get here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. To stay connected and updated again to upcoming events, please drop your contact information in a private message to Jimmy, or you'll see him in the chat, or you'll see First Church. Just send the message directly. So everything you do here helps make this a more meaningful experience for all of us. So thank you again. Let's now immerse ourselves in the wisdom of Louise Hay, where we're going to be talking a little bit about affirmations and what to say to ourselves. Let's begin the journey together tonight with an open heart, open mind. So I want to start with a little bit of a process. It'll probably only take us 2 or 3 minutes. It's a centering exercise. I'm giving people a few more moments to sign in and to get comfortable. And if you've just signed in, welcome once more. It's the last welcome, at least for the moment. So let's center ourselves and create a moment of quiet, a moment of silence. And I'd like everybody to get into a comfortable place and take a deep breath or two. And maybe you want to close your eyes if it's safe to do so. I would like you to think about letting go of the day's stresses, challenges, things that have been on your mind, and focus on the present moment. Now I'd like you just to notice your breathing. We'll do that for, 10 or 15 seconds. In and out. Healing breath and exhaling anything that's on your mind. Breathe in light, healing breath, and exhale. You might tense and relax some of your muscles and breathe in and out. I'm going to recite a few affirmations. So just breathe in, light, and exhale. I'm going to give you a few positive statements that can help you to challenge and overcome negative thoughts, troubling thoughts. Continue to breathe deeply. And here's the first, and you can repeat them after me. I am open to the wisdom of the universe guiding me. And you might say that to yourself. I am open to the wisdom of the universe guiding me. Breathe that in. And next, every challenge is an opportunity for growth and healing. Breathe that in. Every challenge is an opportunity for growth and healing. And next, I trust in the process of life and I embrace each moment with peace. And I'll repeat it. I trust the process of life and embrace each moment with peace. So let's take that deeply in and exhale. And we have one more. I love myself and I'm worthy of love, success, and happiness. And breathe that in. I love myself and I'm worthy of love, success, and happiness. So breathe this in, breathe them in. Now I want to invite you to take one more deep breath and gently open your eyes. I want to encourage you to carry this calm and positive energy from these affirmations into the rest of today's lesson. So here we are, everyone, another Thursday night. I've been studying some books that directly tie into affirmations and that tie into, what do we say to ourselves when we talk to ourselves? So there's books on science and neuroplasticity, and I'm not going to attempt to teach all of that to you, but I want to get some of the highlights in because it reinforces the work that we do. Today, most people understand that we get programmed from the time we're babies, from birth. We're learning that our brains are literally wired for success or failure, and that we end up living out the programs, for better or worse, and it's no one's fault. You hear me say that often. We learned what we learned from the families we grew up in, the extended families, and we learned a lot of things along the way ourselves. And I'm asking people week after week, I have been for years, what their inner dialogue is. Any of you who come to this call often will know most Thursday evenings I'll say, what has the conversation been like with the most important person in the world? What has the inner dialogue been? I always have known that life mirrors back to us whatever that conversation is. That's really the science of mind teaching. Your inner world is reflected in your outer world. It's the law of mind. It's the law of attraction. So there's method to my madness every week when I ask that question. I know that life mirrors that conversation, that inner dialogue. I call it the most important conversation that any of us ever have. But I've only recently been reading books on neuroplasticity, and I've been seeing how the science actually bears out everything that I've been saying for many, many years. So I want to talk more about this in the weeks and months to come. It's a lot to read, and it's scientific in nature, and as I study it more, I'm going to share it with you. But I promise you I'll break it down to make it understandable. So the thing to know is if you're diligently working with affirmations, positive reinforcement affirmations, and many of you are, if you're doing that, you're already doing a lot of what I'll call the corrective work. The antidote to all the negative programming. My reading and my preliminary investigation, I've been working with this book there's several books for a month or two. And then there's other books. But my preliminary investigation indicates that many people still struggle in getting rid of old programs that are negative, and they hold them back. And they're not really sure how to get rid of them. The research in neuroscience has shown us how the brain gets programmed, and people want to know how they can use that knowledge to change their programming and improve their lives. The thing I discovered along the way is affirmations and repetition is probably the most important thing that I'm learning in all this literature. This is based on the rule of neuroplasticity, which has shown that our brains become wired with new information the fastest if it's said often, with passion, and it's repeated. So we've got these pathways, these old ideas, these old tapes that are defeating us, and they've been with us for a lifetime. The good news is you can rewire it. The way to rewire it the fastest and the strongest is to make new statements, passionate new statements, and a lot of repetition. And I thought to myself as I was preparing the lesson, well, good for you, Greg. You've been using these affirmations for 40 years. And I've been using a few of them thousands and thousands and thousands of times. I'm supplied and supported. This is God in my life. There's many, but there's a few. And I didn't really know until I read this material just how very important these affirmations are, and most likely how they have been and impacted my life. So when you notice any point that's repeated, it's there. It's helped to wire. The books say it's helped to wire it in, and so you want to keep repeating it. The research shows that our brains become wired with new information when you do it passionately. So when you say your affirmations, and we've all learned about affirmations through the Louise Hay work. I love, accept, and approve of myself. Never, never, never criticize yourself. The point of power is always in the present moment. I release the need to be angry. I release the need for whatever it is. When you make those statements and you say them often, and you say them with passion, and you bring yourself to a place of belief, what you're doing is you're establishing new neural pathways. You're also you're overriding a lot of the negatives that have been there for a long time. When you notice any point that's repeated, the article said in one of the articles, it's when you're repeating these affirmations, it's there to help you make the pathway stronger, and you want to keep on doing it. So I wanted to try to give you a simple definition rather than the long scientific explanations, so it can be more understandable. Neuroplasticity is like the brain's superpower to change and to adapt. If you imagine your brain is a bit like a pathway through a forest, just as you're walking the same path over and over, it makes the pathway clearer and easier to follow. So think of an affirmation like that, as a pathway through a forest. If you're walking on the same pathway over and over, that pathway becomes much easier to follow. When we think certain thoughts repeatedly, our brain makes these thoughts easier to think again. So the point I'm getting at with this neuroplasticity and what we're learning is we can train our brains, and we can create strong pathways with practice, with repetition, and also the more passion you have in your statements. So with this in mind, we can use this science to understand how Louise Hay's work with affirmations is so important. In my lifetime, I've seen people, be a little bit dismissive sometimes, and they're not really knowing quite how, it's like we've discovered something of great value, and then people want to, people can be dismissive of it because they think whatever they're thinking is more important, without realizing that they've stumbled upon something that's really, really incredibly important. So, first of all, another thing, as all of us are maturing, I don't want to say getting older, we want to keep our bodies healthy, right? And we want to get enough sleep. This is part of learning to love ourselves. We want good nutrition. We want to get some exercise, because all of these things contribute to our overall health and our brain health in particular, because what we're talking about here is our brain health and our ability for us to have these neural pathways be working in an optimal way. So we want our brain to be able to build new cells and create new pathways. Saying positive things to yourself over and over again will help your brain make new and better pathways for happy thoughts. The research shows that learning to repeat happy thoughts, life-giving thoughts, can be so beneficial to your health. The authors I've read said if you want to think of it like a light switch where you keep turning on or off negative thoughts or happy thoughts, you can turn on the happy thoughts, you can turn on the life-giving thoughts. But their thing is, there needs to be a dedication to that. You want to create the pathways in mind, as we say. We want to create the neural pathways. And there's a lot of us that run on negative thoughts. It's no secret. There's more negative thoughts than most people than there are positive. So wherever you find yourself doing the negative thinking, you want to mentally get in the habit to turn on that switch. What we've taught you in the past is cancel. Never, never, never criticize yourself. Never, never, never criticize anyone else. That's still good information. This research is suggesting that we do the same thing, that we cancel the negative. They used a different picture, a light switch. Turn on the light wherever you find yourself complaining, moaning, or talking about ain't it awful or poor me. Turn on the light. Turn on the light of the truth. We continue to do the same things. So we'll talk to you in Science of Mind classes about neutralizing the negative. In spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, Ernest Holmes will say it's the time, it's the art, the method of ridding that negative pathway, getting rid of it so you can behold spirit, you can behold the wonder of source, right? So Holmes is talking about ridding this negation, this negativity, so you can experience the goodness, the God, the all that is there in you and operating through you. In the subject of neuroplasticity, I liked the idea of the light switch. You might want to think of it that way too. Louise Hay would say, never, never, never criticize yourself. So stop right there when you're doing it. When you're shooting on yourself or you're shooting on somebody else or you're just in that place, as soon as you're aware, stop. Stop. Lovingly, gently, powerfully, stop and turn on that switch and tell yourself the truth. Because the ideas of God are good, are always going to be positive. So as soon as we find ourselves off track, where we're going towards something sad or negative, just gently and lovingly put yourself back on track. You might want to use the light switch analogy. I think that's kind of good. I do it other ways, but this is good. This is good. So turn on the positive thoughts. Flip that switch. Maybe the idea that idea may help some people. I've been using never, never, never criticize the self for probably 30 years. Never, never, never criticize other people, because whatever you're spotting in other people and you're seeing as their flaws are most often our own problems that we're projecting elsewhere. When we get into this teaching, you really get to the point where you understand that it's a spiritual system, and we live and move and we have our being in it. And so whatever you're seeing in another person, it doesn't matter, because we understand that everyone is evolving in light. The whole world and everyone in it is one with this one energy, and all of us are moving forward together. No two of us are alike. We're all individualizations of this one essence, this one energy. We're whole, we're complete, we're perfect, and we're perfectly evolving. So we have important work to do here. It's been pointed out to me over and over again through the years. And we don't want to go down. By that I mean, we're working on ourselves. We're working on self-discovery. We're working on realizing who we are. Children of the universe, children of God, however you want to think of it. But you are an individualization of this one power. And there's much you can do to heal your life, improve your life. And when you really, really love yourself and improve your life, I promise you, you're going to be the light for many other people. So this new science that I'm talking with you about tonight, and I will do more work on it for myself and for everybody, tells us that you will feel better, and you will notice that you feel better the more you work on developing this consciousness. The more dedicated and the more often you keep telling yourself good and positive things, your brain is going to get used to thinking this way, making you feel happier. The research indicates the stronger your beliefs in positivity, the better. If you keep saying good things to yourself, after a while your brain starts to really believe what you're saying. So the research would suggest it's like convincing your brain that these good things are true. The next point in the article was that you will bounce back. So even if your health has been on a decline and all kinds of things, our health is so tied into our brain and what we think. So as we create these new neural pathways, and we're convincing our brain that these good things are true, we get to a point where we bounce back, and we will bounce back better. So that's a lot to consider. The more that we can train ourselves to see the good, or what we say in our teaching, the good or the God, that was Edwina Gaines. She was a great teacher to me, a prosperity teacher. She's always talking about seeing the good and the God. To her, there was nothing else to see. That's a real metaphysician, by the way. A person who's developed a mystical approach to life. They're there to see the unfolding good, and they know with certainty that they live, move, and they have their being in this good. So the science I'm talking about tonight coincides directly with what Louise Hay teaches. And by thinking positive thoughts, you're training your brain to be strong. And you won't get knocked down quite as easily. The thing about religious scientists and New Thought practitioners is they're very strong people, I've noticed. They're unoffended. They refuse to be offended. Increasingly, you find that they don't take things personally because they're centered in realizing they have this thing called God realization, or if some of you perhaps would prefer me to use another phrase, they're centered in reality with a capital R, meaning they know that they're one with the one, and whatever might be said of them really isn't so important. They'll go right back to what Louise Hay was always talking about when she said self-acceptance and self-approval are the keys to everything, to all positive changes, self-acceptance and self-approval. So I thought this little presentation today might help you get the idea of how this works. And these points are really easy to take in and understand. The science definitely underscores the importance of affirmations and affirmative living and developing positive expectancy in everything. And we talk about that phrase so often. So again, the importance of affirmations, repeated affirmations. This is one of the best arguments I also know for tuning in here on Thursdays. And Jimmy facilitates a creative living series on Wednesdays at 7. The more you can put yourself in this environment where these ideas are being repeated and presented in different ways, it's a lot like those creating those pathways in your brain. The more you have this repeated to you, the more you can take it in yourself and repeat the affirmations and do this work for yourself. You're going to be amazed before you're halfway through. There will be a shift. You will have demonstrations and manifestations. And you might think, my God, though I'm 60 or I'm 65 or I'm 75, all my life I've done this. And the research is very exciting. Even though these pathways, these negative pathways, have been there forever, it seems, they're quite easy if you get passionate about it and you repeat them. Because it's new information, and you're going to say these words and you're going to repeat them with passion. And so there's a quickening to the process, and your health can start to improve from it too. So this is really quite exciting. We're learning to love ourselves here by being really kind to our mind and our thoughts. We're here to encourage ourselves in every way possible. The suggestion by the researchers was to stop traumatizing yourself with negativity. My thought on that is life is way too short and beautiful. So what we know here and we suggest here, remember, it always begins with you. Peace begins with you. Health begins with you. Wealth begins with you. It always begins with you. So we come into this teaching and we can release the need to be critical of ourselves. We can release the need to be critical of other people. We can refuse to be offended. We do not have to turn on all the negative programming. My goodness, we have enough of it within ourselves. We don't need to go to the news sources and just bring in more and more of it. When Louise would say all healing is self-healing, she's really asking us to get a handle on that inner discussion. And when we get into religious science, we get into the first step of affirmative prayer, where we recognize and we know that spirit is all that there is. We talk about the three words: omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. The idea that this power is everywhere. It's in you. All power, everything is. You are a center of this activity. You have everything you need deep at the center of your being, as Louise Hay would say. And you can realize that you're on this planet, and yes, you've made mistakes, but every one of those mistakes have brought you to a higher place of understanding. You're here, you're expanding, and you're growing, and so is everyone else. So we're doing it individually, we're growing and we're expanding, and everyone else is too. So let's release the need to be worried about everything outside of us, and let's take responsibility for our own lives. I found a little poem about affirmations and neuroplasticity. Very short. In the city of thoughts where dreams are born, your mind shapes your world each night and morn. Your life, your thoughts, the mantra sings. In this dance of mind, you grow your wings. You are all you choose, whispers the breeze. In this magical city, you hold all the keys. As endless as the stars, your potential shines. In the city of neurons where thoughts entwines. So truly, your thoughts are things. Ernest Holmes said it. We've repeated it for years. Your thoughts are things. I don't know about anyone else, but I want to release the need for any of that old thinking. And I want to get rid of those old neural pathways of negativity, worry, blame, shame. I want to release the need for all of that stuff, and I want to think new thoughts, empowering thoughts. And for me, as I read this research, which I'm going to be bringing to you more and more, I want to have the affirmative thoughts and those pathways become strengthened and strengthened. When I was younger and I was being taught the science of mind by David Walker, past president of the movement, he simply explained that we need to create avenues in our minds to receive good. And this is very similar to what we're talking about with these neural pathways. Many people talk about this in different ways. Deepak Chopra would say that we live in this unitary field of energy. Others might describe it as the kingdom at hand, that everything we need is right here, right now. I like all of these images and ideas because it was suggested, it's always been saying the same thing. It's here now, it's here within us, and it's available to us. The journey without a distance would suggest this kingdom, this place, is right here, right now, within us. Louise would say it's deep at the center of my being. It's there, and we can touch it, we can access it. Ernest Holmes, the founder, would say to us that there's a bank account established in your name of great good, and that all we really need to do is to learn how to receive it, to allow the good into our world. So what we're talking about in this lesson is to create the avenues in our own consciousness, in our own minds. We create the avenues in our consciousness to receive the good that's always been here. You're united with it. You are one with this good, this energy. So maybe, possibly, we need to open up these channels, these neural pathways, these avenues in our consciousness so we can receive. Because if you got all these old tapes saying I can't have it, I'm not good enough, and it'll never happen, it's too late for me, then we're somewhat doomed. So this is exciting information. This information I'm giving you tonight really underscores the importance of affirmative living that we teach, and having positive expectancy, and the value of repetition of these affirmations and building up our consciousness, because you're establishing pathways in your own brain. So maybe we need to flip on that switch that will allow us to see good that's there. Maybe we have to flip it on many times a day. Louise would say deep at the center of our being is this infinite well of creativity, of good, of God, of light, of health. And so she's saying the same thing too. So if you're coming to this teaching and you're learning about the law of attraction and you're learning about the law of mind, you're really coming to understand that life is responding to you 24 hours a day. It's saying yes to you. Your wish is its command. From The Secret, the genie always said, your wish is my command. So what we want to do is we want to build up a consciousness of positivity. We want to develop positive expectancy. We know the negativity, the fear, and the anger, and all of that stuff really potentially can make us sick. It can cause disease. So if you're in a rut, many of us are, of our own making, and sometimes we're going round and round with our old tapes and old stories. And these old tapes and old stories aren't going to take us where we want to go. In fact, they will not help us in any way other than perhaps make us sick. So we want to think about a moment about Louise Hay and her timeless message. She would say, you've been criticizing yourself long enough. For a long time. And she'll say, criticizing ourselves and others. And she'll ask, how has that been working out for us? Wherever we're being critical, criticizing ourselves or others, we are missing the point. Religious scientists are here to be the cheerleaders. We're here to see the good. Metaphysical students learn early on that we live, we move, we have our being in a world of good. We learn early on that everything is God in action. Perhaps you don't like that term. Then think of it as a vast field of energy, and you're part of it. And that it's moving forward by means of you and me and all of us. I was taught many years ago that I am evolving, and that I'm learning, and I'm expanding, and that the whole world is also, and that I'm growing, and I'm always going to be more. I distinctly remember someone saying to me 40 years ago, surrender to win. It was in a 12-step program. The suggestion was very clear to me that my resistance to life was getting me nowhere. The suggestion was clear that I needed to line myself up with what we now call the attributes of Source. In the science of mind, we say this energy is exemplified by peace, power, love, joy, beauty, and wisdom. So we want to align ourselves with that type of energy and surrender the other stuff, surrender to win. I understood what they were talking about. I understood when it was suggested that all is well. I understood what Louise was talking about all those years ago. She was saying that everything is unfolding in divine order, and I always have a choice. And I extend that to you today. We all have a choice. You can keep on doing it the same way that's been done. We can get angry about just about anything. We can react to just about everything. That's what most people do. Most of the world is not awake. You come into a teaching like this, this is such an exceptional place, and people are waking up and practicing and learning to see and live the affirmative life, and having faith that they're evolving and life is evolving everywhere. And as we do, and as I did, we begin to trust in the process of life that Louise always talked about and recommended. I'll say her words in a different way. Deep in the center of my being, your being, there's an internal guidance system that's always attempting to get your attention. As we learn to love ourselves, most of us begin to slow down a little bit and to take the pause that we talk about often. And as we work with affirmations, you're going to slowly start to empower yourself. But now after tonight's lesson, with all this new information, I'd like you to use your affirmations more often. You say them more passionately. The more you calm yourself and slow down and center yourself in this God activity, remember the first step of affirmative prayer from our textbook is recognition. And if you don't know what that means, it's where you take the time to reflect upon the ultimate reality, which is that you live, you move, and you have your being in this spiritual activity. So slow down long enough to know that you are God. Be still and know that you are the thing that you're looking for. So you can come to a place where you can experience the peace and the activity of God. And then we do our work. Let it begin with us. Let us start one thought at a time. Let us know that we're one with this activity. This is the only reality. So bring yourself to the first step of affirmative prayer and recognize and realize that you are one with the one. And in this awareness, things become clearer. If you bring yourself to this place in your meditation or your contemplation, you're going to understand that everything is unfolding in divine order. In this understanding, you're going to find the key to embrace life's mystery. And most likely, you're going to bring yourself to a place of peace and trust. Louise Hay would say, I trust in the process of life, and she knows it will guide us. I mean, this does not suggest that we are ignorant of problems that happen in life. But if you do your centering activity, your meditation, the first step of affirmative prayer, you recognize that God is, or Spirit is, and the Spirit is in you. You're going to come to a place where you're not going to be adding any more problems to your life. You will know that the peace of God is your one goal, and you're going to let that peace begin with you. So back to our lesson, all the behavioral research has told us as much as 77% of everything we think is negative. I never knew it was that high. I knew it was high. I knew most of the people in the world hadn't come into a teaching like this. So there's a lot of negativity floating around in the world. You don't have to be like the masses. You come into the teaching like this and you can turn it around. And at the same time, the same researchers have said that as much as 75% of all illness is self-induced. And that's no wonder. So if the researchers are correct, that means as much as 75% or more of our programming was of the wrong kind. Until recently, no one understood that well enough. how the human mind gets wired, but we all here at the teaching, in this teaching, have known it for a long time. We just really haven't known about the science. So all that programming has been going on throughout our entire lives. The result is that without knowing it, we're doing it to ourselves. So we're free to turn it around. We can turn it around. I'm going to get into the into the ways and the methods, but I'm going to give you the good news before we get into another extended lesson on this subject. If you begin with your thinking and you begin with your affirmations and practice positive thinking, affirmative thinking, know that you are one with this one energy and you are creating pathways in your own mind, and thoughts are things. So you very quickly overwrite the negative things, the negative messages, and we all have it inside of us. So let's begin this week. Let's begin by telling ourselves every loving thought we can think of. Let's be generous in our thinking towards the world, towards life, towards ourselves. Let's never, never, never criticize ourselves. Let's create these pathways in mind. That as we do, our health is going to improve. Everything in our life is going to improve as we begin to live the affirmative life. I'm going to continue this lesson on in another couple segments over the months to come as I assimilate the information. But I found the antidote to it, which was creating new thoughts, new affirmations. Imagine that pathway in the forest. We want to have that pathway to become strong, and we want it to be very positive. And as you think, as you change that if you change it around, your consciousness will be reflected, and you will see changes much quicker than what you would expect. So change your thinking, change your life. Stay tuned with us, and I will continue to work on this subject for everybody. I find it exciting. And that's it for me this evening. We're going to turn this call over in a moment to hear from all of you. Of course, the question, now ever more important, is as you're thinking about your thoughts and your thinking, what has it been like being you? And if it's been negative, please don't, as Louise Hay would say, criticize yourself for being where you are, but just sit with yourself long enough to, have a conversation with you. You're the most important person in your life, and make a decision that you're going to do things differently. Maybe you're going to start with a gratitude list that you'll read to yourself every day, because the more you can turn that conversation around, your outer world is going to change, your health is going to change, and everything's going to change for the better. That's it for me. We're going to listen to all your comments at the other side of the break in just a minute. Thank you all for being here and supporting our work. Thank you. Thank you.